Good morning. My name is Yori Folani. Thank you very much for joining us. And my guest this morning is Dr. David Okoro. Dr. Okoro is the Chief Security Strategist, Institute for Security and Governance Studies. A fine morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Folani. How is Lagos today?
Very well, thank you very much. Please call me Yori. Now, we want to look at the security agenda for the incoming administration today. This is one administration is ending and the new one is taking off on Monday. So we've sort of, seen the security agenda perhaps, even if we're not specialists, we're not academics, but most ordinary people would have said, look, whatever the security agenda is, we still had security headaches. So what would you recommend that is essential in the agenda of the incoming administration, given the security challenges that we've experienced right through this concluding administration?
Well, once more, thank you for having me. If we look at where we are coming from and our current realities as a people, you will know that perhaps profoundly the most critical factor that is affecting our nation today is issue of insecurity, because it is agreed that there really can be no development without security. And so if you ask me, our current reality shows that very little can be done, like you can see around our country, if there is no security. But if you ask me now, what are the things that we need to do, I'll give you some, I'll quickly run them down. But just to let you know that the security sector operates within an ecosystem. We operate within an ecosystem. The security sector is affected by political decisions. It's affected by the economy. It's affected by the culture, the social factors that we see. So if you ask me straight away for the incoming president, is to say that, number one, what he requires is that courage and political will to take political decisions at the highest level, have the political courage to follow those decisions to conclusion. This is so particularly now that we know that the mandate is being challenged in court, and there are issues in our nation. And so this is at a time more than ever before where he will require political will to take steps, because the problem facing us are intractable, the security problem facing us are entrenched, and there are all manner of issues around it. So taking political decision, firm political decision, or firm political will to take the right, courageous political decision is number one factor. Whether it's in the area of appointments, whether it's in the area of taking those decisions, political will is critical here. The second really is to say that the president must be able to give us a very clear vision of where he's taking us. Because security, these are the foundations upon which our security is based. We must know where he's taking us. What is the preferred future that he's taking us to? The child in the primary school should have an understanding of where Mr. President is taking us to the preferred future. The taxi driver should understand. The market woman should understand. The policeman on the road should understand. Oh, this is a new president coming. Where does he intend to take us? And how does he intend to take us to that destination? That must be very clear and must be communicated very clearly to everybody.
Talking about security, especially, or are you talking about governance generally?
No. I'm talking about security, because for security, you need to give people hope. You need to give people hope for tomorrow. You need to give people reason to even support security measures. You need to give people hope to cooperate and collaborate with the security agencies. And it is what people see and what they hear that will give them that hope to be part of what government wants to do. Because government, you cannot provide security without the people. So you need to carry the people along. And how do you carry the people along if they don't know where you are taking them? So it is important that you have very clearly where people are. are going. And then, of course, the other point is he's going to make an appointment. So it is critical for security that the right people are put in the right positions. Of course, because of the pressure, people who want to be in power and all that, that's going to be a concern. And the kind of appointment that is made, whether to the security sector, political sector, and others, are going to be critical. They are going to tell the people whether this government is really concerned about moving forward, or they want to take us, keep us where we are, or I mean, even regress. So issue of a political appointment is very critical. And then I want to say, before I stop at this junction, to say that the president must decide early enough how he wants to use power. Does he want to use this power as a shield for the people, or he want to use power as a sword? Now, when you use power as a shield, it means that you are able to use power to protect the people from the vagaries of life, vagaries of insecurity, vagaries of economic pain, vagaries of political decisions that hurt the people, that hurt the economy. So again, the president must make up his mind early enough in order to create that ecosystem, that right environment for security, by saying, look, I want to use power either as a shield or as a sword. I think that at this point, maybe you can take it from there.
Okay, thank you very much, Doctor. Now, this very first point you have mentioned interests me, the courage/political will to do the needful as it relates to security. Because we have been hearing about this, when I say we, talking about the ordinary man that you spoke about, the policeman on the doing his job, the market woman, the office worker, in terms of knowing exactly where we are. We've been hearing that the nature of our security challenges, especially now I'm talking about with the terrorists, who continue to be able to, take the initiative, set up the initiative. We have heard when we have wondered that why are these non-government actors giving government the might of government resources, they run around like this. And to paraphrase the answers that most people seem to have, it is that, well, you see, we're all Nigerians, even Boko Haram, even all these terrorists, and so we have to be careful. Let us not be accused of anything. The whole world is watching. So we can't, as it were, go all out and do everything that we can within our capabilities, because at the end of the day, it's essentially a family affair. So I don't know, is that what you, because we've been hearing that if the order had been given, it's almost like terrorism could have been severely restricted, if not wiped out altogether. But that would be a sort of no mercy kind of policy for anybody who is fighting the state.
Well, I think this is the choice we have to make as a people. Clearly, our military and security forces have the capacity to quickly degrade all sorts of... Look, we are dealing with an internal security situation, and the actors, the non-state actors are known. They are not... The security nature, the security community, the intelligence community in Nigeria is well-versed as to what is happening. They are well-versed as to who are creating the problem for us. They are well-versed as where they are located. They have all the information about them. But this is where I said it is the matter of political will. And so when the intelligence community, when the security agencies present their finding before government and required to take steps, taking those steps will be profound. It will have an impact. You have a political impact, you have ethnic impact and all that. The leader, are they willing? I give you an example. We know, for instance, that there are about the bandit, the armed bandit that are terrorizing us as a people. They are known, their leadership are known, and they are about, if you like, in the region of 7,000. This is what we are told. We find that there are about 7,000 of them in the north central, in the northwest, and part of northeast, and a part of north central. These are the numbers, and then if you ask the Nigerian military to take them out, of course it's not difficult. They are in the forest. Air Force can do a good job. We have the resources, but the issue is, do we have the political will? Has the previous administration deployed or shown the political will? If you ask me, I would say no. And incidentally, that is the key we require. We need to ask the military or the security forces, go after these people, take them out. But the question is, when the results begin to come, when the visuals begin to come of people coming in body bags, people coming in large numbers, people that have been killed, the bandits that have been killed, when the numbers begin to come and certain people begin to react to say, look, we want to wipe out our people, will the president have the political will to continue in that direction? So that is the concern. We know that you can't say that because they are Nigerians like any other person, that they have license to kill, to maim, and then they are free to walk the street. We are a nation operating under rules, under laws. We are not animals. So if an individual decides to take up arms against the state and kill citizens, there should be a point at which the line is drawn to say, if you cross this line, there will be consequence. But as I say to you now, there is no consequence because of certain political concentration that certain people have. And these have not been hidden by government officials in this outgoing regime that says, after all, these are people, we cannot send the military after them. So this is where the new president will have to draw a line, whether he wants to do what is needed to retain the security and integrity of our nation, or we stay where we are and continue to regress. Because as long as there's no security in our nation, you can't develop. So these are the decisions he has to make. Incidentally, he's the Jagaban, you know. He is the leader of warriors. That is what it means. Is he going to bring that courage to bear in managing Nigeria?
Well, indeed. You know, because, well, I'm happy that you were able to authenticate some of the kind of informal thinking that people have with your explanation. And therein is the problem. If it is what it is now for the very reason you stated, that, look, these people who are giving Nigeria, corporate Nigeria, a headache, they are for some parts of the country. They're not external people. And there might be a pushback from there where, you're going to wipe out all our people. Well, I don't know how much easier it will be for a president that is not from that area. Of course, the president is from all over Nigeria, theoretically speaking. He's the president of all. I'm wondering if it is going to be any easier for decisions such as we are talking about to be made in the light of what might have, you know, hampered a bit previous people who had taken a stab at it. Say, well, it's unfortunate that our people are misbehaving. It might be seen as no more than misbehaving. To now come up and say, look, you can't, I guess what you're saying, Doctor, is that you can't, as it were, carry on as if the new president is Italian, for instance, or that he's Australian. He is still Nigerian. And I guess that is going to factor into how we are able to do, how well we are able to do the job that we have. So this is a big challenge. And it seems like, from what you've explained, it's not going to go away anytime soon. The job is not going to be easier because it's not just being bloody-minded about removing a problem. I guess that's what you're saying. That you were talking about the political will, the courage to do the right thing. It's not difficult for the Nigerian army if they get the order to go ahead and do the needful. But these are the challenges. So this is going to be with us, but you've put the caveat that depending on the political will and courage that is demonstrated in future, and that will largely impact how better this gets, right?
Yes. But I was also going to add, see, banditry that we are seeing that have grown to become a monster is a regular thing that you find everywhere, where you have rural criminals with cutlass and other dangerous weapons going around to steal, to harass people. Now, what has happened is that banditry have been allowed to fester in the Northwest. So, because banditry have been allowed to fester, it has grown out of proportion. The danger really is that if you don't curtail it at a point, it will continue to grow, and it will consume everybody. Now, we have an estimate of, say, 7,000 people that are involved in banditry. Because they are well-resourced, they kidnap for ransom, they are where they are mining, and they are involved in mining activities, they are getting more resources, they have more money to recruit, they have more money to bring in weapons. They can only increase in number. They can only expand their scope of operation. And so if nothing is done, these people have the capacity to threaten the security and well-being of our entire nation. So this is where the danger is. Do we want to sit down because of fear of taking certain actions until the problem becomes impossible to deal with, which is what we actually get into? Because some people have tried in some states to say, okay, let us enter into some form of agreement with these bandits. And it never worked. Instead of working that way, the bandits are continuing to increase in strength and in numbers. And they are recruiting. If you go to Niger State, they are recruiting every day. If you go to Katsina State, Kaduna State, they are recruiting. So that means they are increasing. So it's like a cancer. If either you make up your mind as a nation and as a leader to say, let us cut off this cancer at this point, or we, because of fear, of discomfort or political reaction or pushback, we allow the problem to get to the level that ultimately you have to start talking about amputation. So it is a problem that the earlier it is, somebody had that courage and political sagacity and, if you like, wisdom to deal with it. Otherwise, look, you are talking about 7,000 people putting at risk millions and millions of people. You know, the Northeast, this Northwest is about how many millions, how many tens of millions. And you are talking about just 7,000 people putting the whole of the North in jeopardy. You can't travel. You can't travel without fear. You can't travel without apprehension. There are stuff you can't do. I used to live in the North. But now when you are going back to those places, you have to think twice. Do I really need to go there? You know, it has to be extremely important for you to go. So do we want to continue that way? Do we want to continue to run a nation where every day our news is flashing all over the world as a place where children again have been kidnapped? And by the way, several children have been kidnapped by these bandits are still in captivity. Children 12 years old, 11 years old that were in school, that dared to go to school, they are still in captivity. And nobody is lifting a finger to help them. And so do we want that kind of country? Or we are going to have somebody who will come and damn the consequence and say, look, we will exercise this cancer. We'll put a stop to this cancer once and for all before it spreads and kill everybody.
You know, what you're saying is probably the way, well, I would see it that way. A lot of Nigerians would also see it that way. But at the end of the day, it's going to be the person who the buck stops on his table that is going to have to take that particular decision. Now, if you were to put on your political cap, Dr. Koro, I wonder how difficult or how easy you think that is, because no man is an island. No one people in our Nigerian context here is an island. So if there's going to be a pushback, even if it is no more than a resentment, at the very top of the program, you were speaking about some people still, you know, carrying on as if they can affect the outcome of the INEC declaration of the winners of this election. So those people, you can say that their attitude is probably not all it should be to the incoming administration. So when you begin to look at all of this, and by the time people with a certain kind of grievance join with other people who have a different kind of a grievance, and all these people come together, we're looking at a different kind of security threat hybrid there, aren't we? So maybe this is one of the reasons why someone said that he doesn't admire whoever is coming on to be the next president, given the expectations that are very, very high and that will have to be. This is something of a juggling act, isn't it, Doctor?
Well, the Jagaban, the incoming president, applied for the job, and at the time he was applying for the job, I think he has a fair idea of what the job entails. But like, if you ask me, to every concern, to every security situation or any situation we have in life, in the midst of the crisis or the problem, there's always a solution. There's always a light in the tunnel. For me, what is needed to be done in spite of the pushback that is expected, the current disagreement in the country, is to say that the path the president should take is to build political consensus for what he wants to do. It's not everybody that supports the activities of criminals because of certain gains. There are many people in that part, in the northern part of the country, that are completely dissatisfied with the current security situation in the north. So what he needs to do is to build political consensus to support the whatever military and security operations that are going to be taken. There are quite a number of people. So it's to search out those people who will support the cleaning up of the environment, clearing the northern part of the country and part of the south, by the way, of all these criminalities, and then take a step to do it. Recall that we had a similar experience when President Jonathan was there, and terrorism was growing in Borno State. I recall that there was this order to start military action, and the elders of Borno State challenged the president that you were killing our people. And so what did President Jonathan do? He pulled back. But what ultimately happened was that the same terrorists who turned their guns and started killing the very elders, the Borno elders and senior citizens, they were killing them from house to house. It got to a time that, again, the same people who said Jonathan was going to kill all their people were now the ones that say, oh, Mr. President, you are allowing us to be killed one by one without taking steps. So it is better to err on the side of, say, look, let's dare and do what is right. Knowing that when you do what is right, everybody will be happy. Look, the problem in the Northeast, the terrorism we face eventually, will not have gotten to that momentous proportion it got to if it had been nipped in the bud at the beginning. There were political pushback, but ultimately it didn't do anybody any good because the Borno people suffered it more than ever. So in the North, as I said, there are a lot. There is actually a majority of voices that want this security to end, and they are willing to support government. So it is for the president to seek out those voices and those people who have sympathy, who are willing to ensure that the whole North return to safety and security, to start by working with them, and then the scope can now be larger and bring in as much people as possible. But you must understand that there's never going to be a time you're going to get 100% consensus. You're going to have a sizable proportion of people say, no, we don't want to leave our people alone, don't touch them. But then this is where the president's decision it has to come. Do you want the country under you? Because if as a president, the Constitution talks about welfare and security of the people as being the major responsibility of government. So if as a president, your people are not safe, of course you can't talk of welfare where there is insecurity. So that's why I said the president is, he has a job that is cut out in his front, but it is doable. It is doable with the right strategies, with the right approaches. It's doable. We can have a nation where everybody will queue behind the president and he takes decisions and he will be supported. I think that's what he needs to do. No matter what the opposition are, and I know that there are people who will be willing to support him if the right approaches are made.
And, why I like so much what you kicked off with, which is the courage and political will to do what is needed. This is complicated further by what we are hearing, allegations we are hearing that, as a matter of fact, politicians are really, the back end, so to speak. So it is alleged that it's not as if there are no politicians backing these people, because everybody has a particular interest. Not everybody is of the same moral fiber. And so when you have politicians who the ordinary primary six people would think that, oh, a politician is part of governance, so there's no way he would support that kind of thing. But we are hearing that, on the contrary, politicians are often behind a lot of these issues. But as you said, the incoming president, Jagaban, you were interpreting the meaning of his title, the leader of warriors. He must have a plan, and he probably has an attitude about it already. But the fact that politicians are involved, well, that's going to be something of a challenge as well. Now, the Northeast, Northwest, the North generally, that's not the only place where we have these security challenges. It might be because of the nature of it, this is what we're experiencing, but surely attention needs to be paid to other parts of the country. People seem to be worried now that, look, let this not spread. There are people who are saying that, are you sure it isn't beginning to spread? Comment on that, please.
No, if you ask for banditry, of course, is spreading. I told you it's like cancer. And if you do not arrest cancer in good time, it spreads. So what happens is the bandits have been able to build a structure of supplies. They have been able to build a structure of camps, of operation bases in certain part of the north. They are spreading. If you go to Kogi State, the bandits are active. Most times, these operations don't come boom, like that. It takes a process. It takes a process of settling down, setting up structures, training, mastering the environment. So gradually they are in Kogi State, and, and if they are in Kogi State, that's a divider. They can reach the south, they can reach the north. So if anybody sits in Lagos or sits in Port Harcourt and think that, oh, we are safe, it's not true, because, look, banditry might not come in the form of what you see in the north. It might come in a form of mutation. It will mutate and it will appear in other parts of the country, in other dimensions. And one of those dimension manifestations you see is kidnapping. And so when they build capacity to be able to supply logistics to different parts of the country, put their men there, who says that they are not there already? It's just that, I don't want to say more things about that, but it's just that they have not decided to operate the way we expect. So if you are thinking that it's the way banditry has happened in the north, that is how this criminality will manifest in the south, then of course you are playing. They have the capacity to get to those places. And I'm talking about issues of the fact that it's not only in the north that we have issues. Another very sore point is the southeast. And if you ask me, the situation in the southeast was grossly mismanaged. Again, because of the approach we decided to adopt. For issues that are purely internal security, issues that are purely political, we decided to adopt the military approach to try to address it. And then we escalated the issue. And today, you're talking about a crisis of significant proportion in the southeast. You see what is happening in Anambra State. Imo State is virtually ungovernable now. You are talking about issues in Abia State. And you said to me, why don't we have all sorts of security issues? But like I said, essentially the Southeast was a political issue. And I have spoken about this on different platforms to say, look, the Southeast is a political issue that requires the building of consensus. It requires government to come down from its high horse to come to the level of the people to say, look, what is the crisis here? What is the problem here? And then, if they can synthesize what the issues are, you discuss, see the give and take, so that we can have peace in that area. But rather than do that, we chose to take the military option, we chose to take the kinetic option, and it has escalated. And now security doesn't seem to be able to address it. So we also have the issue in the southeast. And I say to the president that is coming, again, this requires engagement. This requires understanding the people. This requires talking to the people, putting them in confidence, letting them trust you, because the issues of trust are always there. People don't trust government. Government says one thing and does another. Even for the bandits, if they tell you there are issues where that government deceived them, and so they decide to take up arms. So at the end of the day, you find that the approach of government to these issues are a situation that escalate the issues rather than dampen it or reduce it.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Dr. David Okoro. We're going to have to take a break now. Please stay with us. We'll be right back. And at that time, if there are any calls, we'll take them. Okay, welcome back. And our guest is Dr. David Okoro. He's the Chief Security Strategist in the Institute for Security and Governance Studies. He's joining us from our Abuja studio, and we're looking at setting an agenda for the incoming administration. Now, thank you very much, Dr. Okoro. What other aspects will need, concerted attention? We've spoken about the general lack of peace because of the bandits, but surely banditry is not the only aspect that we need to be paying attention to. And just as we were going there, you were speaking about the situation in the southeast, where the situation has allowed to become what it is. But are there other areas that are also important strategically? Because without security, everybody knows that you can't do very much in the absence of peace. Business is not going to go well, and all of that.
Well, our treasure base as a nation is the Gulf of Guinea, where most of the oil activity, either the transportation of oil, the bunkering and all that takes place. Currently, the Gulf of Guinea cannot be said to be safe. All sorts of things are happening. So if you cannot secure your means of economy, the life wire of your economy, then that also should be a concern to us. because as we talk, the stealing of oil is still happening. Yeah, government have taken some steps, but certainly when the president comes in, he needs to take a closer look at what had been done, where we were before and what had been done and where we are now, and how he wants us to go forward. But certainly the Gulf of Guinea, when I talk about the Gulf of Guinea, I'm talking about the maritime sector, that portion of our nation that is covered by the waters, and all that. That he needs to take steps, because we need to secure our means of national livelihood. We need to secure that component of our territory. We need to, that means we might need to do more by providing more equipment for our Navy. We need to provide area support. And above all, I was also going to measure this later, that it will not just be now throwing money again at the security sector. The president must review the resources that have been provided for the security sector. How has it been used? Because some people say, in my own private conversations, people say to me, it is not that we are not getting resources, but it is the way it is used. They say, I'm talking about security agents. Now they say, look, if we deploy effectively what is given to us, the mileage we will achieve will be far. But most of those resources that is given is pilfered, is mismanaged, is stolen. And we're not just talking about small theft, we are talking about grand corruption that is taking place. So, yes, we will need the Gulf of Guinea area to beef up security, but we need to study very closely what are really the issues. Is it really that the resources is not there, or that it is not being properly channeled? That's an area we will need to look at when I talk about security sector reform. But the Gulf of Guinea is certainly, and our maritime security, where our treasure base is needs to be properly secured. Now you have a refinery being built. You have all sorts of development along that corridor. We need to be strong in terms of security to protect those maritime, those assets that are located in that environment. And we need to do that very quickly, because we are living in a world that you really can't say who your friends are and who your enemies are. And when you are dealing with a situation like ours, where some people are dissatisfied with what is happening in our country, perhaps, they might decide to support such measures that will impact on our national economy. So the government should, the new government that is coming, should look closely at the issue of the maritime security. I think that is a critical thing. And then, of course, dealing with one of the debilitating problems is the problem of kidnapping. And because of kidnapping, people can't travel. And for goodness sake, you know that kidnapping is not a rocket science that to be dealt with. There are still a lot of issues that we act that are bothered about. We have the capacity to really track kidnappers and to deal with them, but that is not being done. So this is another area that the president must call those whoever he's going to be appointed and task them to say, look, I want to give you this position, but I'm giving you 6 months within which I don't want to hear anything about kidnapping in our land. And when that is done and the president supports them, again, this one is different from dealing with bandits. This now required to say anywhere you find kidnappers, you deal with them with maximum force of government. So the president must, because this kidnapping is a nationwide problem. It spreads across our nation. And so there must be steps to be taken to say, look, we want this to be done. And it can be done. It can be done. So dealing with kidnapping, and then you talk about, yeah.
Okay, I was going to say, along the lines of what you're speaking about, you said at the top of the program, it's about one of the things that the incoming president will have to be especially careful about is putting, round pegs in round holes and, square pegs in square holes, and not the kind of thing that has been alleged where you have round pegs in square holes. In this connection, it strikes me as whoever is the national security, the choice of a national security advisor is going to be very, very important to achieving the objective that the president will have, which must be, at the end of the day, that of peace and security. How important is the choosing of that particular functionary of government, the national security advisor, going forward as we are?
I have had an opportunity to watch closely the operations in the Office of National Security Advisor. And the criticality of that office cannot be overemphasized. that office is the coordinator of national security. It's the apex of our national security architecture. So the office is absolutely important. The law setting it up, the structures are in place, but the issue is the leadership. Over the past eight years, for instance, when you have had the current headship, the National Security Advisor himself in position, we cannot say that we have been able to handle issues of internal security effectively, because if we had been able to handle the issues, we would not be where we are today, where every part of the country is engulfed with intractable security issues. So I want to say that the person who is going to lead the National Security Advisor, so the Office of National Security Advisor, is absolutely necessary. And his selection should not be based on political issues. We should look for the best man for the job. But then there's a current argument, which I have written about, I've written articles about, that it doesn't have to be a military general that should be the National Security Advisor. The current practice globally, in the best international practice right now, is that you look for cerebral academics, you look for cerebral experts, you look for people who have demonstrated knowledge, and people who have understanding of policy, public policy. They have understanding of the dynamics in the society, the dynamic in issues of security. People have understanding of economy. People have understanding of international relations. People who look. So we are not. It's no longer a season where you say the National Security Advisor must be a retired or a trained military general, because we are dealing in this area, we are dealing with internal security. We are not dealing with military actions and all that. We are talking about issues of internal security. The military have their own forte, which is, we know, defending territorial integrity of Nigeria. But the issue of National Security Advisor, really, look, if you go to the U.S., it's an intellectual that heads the National Security Advisor position. If you go to India, it's an intellectual. It's not a military person. If you go to Germany or you go to the UK, it's no longer evoked that it must be a retired military person. What we require for National Security Advisor position is not military training. It's an individual who have an understanding of security. Look, what you deal with at that office is information management. It's management of intelligence that is coming from everywhere. So it's somebody, whether you have been in the military intelligence has its own limitations. And by the way, we had times in Nigeria where that office was actually being manned by police officers, or people other than being military. In India, I think the guy who manned that office in India is a police officer. So we should not be fixated that it must be a military man that can solve our problem. We should widen the scope of search for a National Security Advisor and look for the very best. It might not be within, the guy who will hold that position might not necessarily be within the boundaries of Nigeria, but we have Nigerians around the world, if we search well, that can play that role and provide the leadership we need in that sector. And it is key. If we are going to make progress, we need to have that kind of leadership that will be effective in managing and directing our entire national security infrastructure or architecture for sources. And I was also going to add to that we will also need...
I beg your pardon, Doctor.
Yeah, go on there.
Would you please just hold that thought, try and remember it, because Maazi Okorafor has been waiting for a while. So I'll bring him on, and then you can continue. Good morning to you, Maazi Okorafor.
Yes, we need 247 security network for investors to come in this to invest in Nigeria. That is what the incoming government come Monday should be looking at. Now, in Nigeria today, we have just 11 security agencies in Nigeria. Now, you ask yourself, the modern way or digital way of fighting security is drone. All these agencies should be trained, have personnel trained to make use of drones. That is the digital method of fighting security. It is not a question of going to buy this. Because at the end of the day, I was looking at the way the system was using that, the drone is using its CSM to monitor all this with it. I was so impressed. So Nigeria should embark on this because if we don't have 247 security, I don't think anybody will come and invest. And if you're investing, you're sure because if you have security 247, it's very easy. Even all this, I like military personnel, military and security. At least there should be a level. Not general. I know they don't go to war front. Bring at least to the level, maybe everybody else in that corner level. Take care of it. Calm down. have to move. And we make sure that if I give you an office as a commissioner in any state, every month, 2 months, I start hearing problem. I will change you. When I change you, I pay you all your attachment, I retire you. That will make people to sit up. Anybody in any state as a security officer, the chief secretary of that organization. That is the only solution we have to move for. Not because very transfer it. No. The guy that person paying his food benefit, let him go and then another person come on board. That is the only solution to move forward. So that security must be changed. You change the pattern. Good morning, Mazi Okorafor.
Thank you very much, Mazi Okorafor, for calling in. Okay, Doctor, I interrupted you to take that question. Would you like to pick it up again, please?
Yes, I was saying that, look, we have Nigerians around the world that can do this work very well. It doesn't have to be a military person. Like I was saying that same office have been held before by other people other than military officers. And by the way, my concern is that the temperament of a military person is very different. We are talking of internal security with all sorts of complex forces at play. So you don't have, the military training is to apply maximum force to deal with issues. And what we are dealing with are political situations that are complex, that are complex to deal with. So I give you an example. If I was to advise on what was to be done in the Southeast, I would never have used military force. You know?
We can hear you.
I would never have supported the use of military force in the Southeast, because what it did was that when military force was applied in the Southeast, the forces splintered. Before the application of kinetic force in the Southeast, you could manage, you know who were those who were creating whatever problem. You could see them, you manage them. But once the military force was used, everybody splintered and scattered. And so you now had to deal with smaller groups of 5 people here, of 2 people armed there, and you now began to have what we call unknown gunmen that have become intractable to deal with. So some of these decisions that have been taken because of the military background of those who hold the position of NSA and all such other top security positions is that they had really not adopted the kind of approach that takes into consideration the kind of country we are in. We are not at war. We are not at war. We are in a peace situation. So we won't be requiring military people to drive security at that highest level. This is what I was talking about. The temperament of a military officer is different from what is required from that of a policeman. They are different. You know, they are different from that of an academic. So you need somebody who have knowledge across the entire sector who will man that. And by the way, we are trying to have a new start in our country. We've been to the deepest depth. We've gone down, and we want to have a new beginning. We want to do things differently in order to have solution. We cannot continue to do what we have been doing and expect there to be change. So we need to change several things, including those who head our national security advisor position. And then we need what I call the security sector reform. For instance, it is not buying more arms for our security sector. It is not throwing more money there. It's to even find out why are they not delivering. It's to find out, apart from political will, why are they not delivering? Why are they bulking? What is happening to the money that was sent there, the equipment that is available, how is it being deployed, the resources that is available, how is it being deployed? And then we look at to reform the processes. Even in the police, as in the military, there are a lot of issues. It's not usually the fact that we say manpower is not enough, equipment is not enough. No, there are issues with the internal processes, how the police run. We've thrown overboard decency in running the police. We've thrown overboard the structure that we used to know in the police force. Everything is upside down. The recruitment is upside down. The training is upside down. The promotion is upside down. Deployment. Look, to be posted as a police commissioner to a state, maybe the government is requesting or somebody presses button and all that. So things are not being done the way professionally should be done. So the new president needs to look at these processes and insist that the right things be done. Until we really reform this sector, to go back to ensure the right things are done, you can put money there, you can put equipment there, you can recruit more people. This problem will continue to be there.
Well, exactly. Just as you have explained it, because a lot of people were maybe hopeful when there were the whole news about Tucano aircraft being acquired. There was going to be, things were not going to be the same anymore. But, you know, for some of the reasons that you've just been speaking about, the Tucano might be serving the military well, but it's like the ordinary market woman who knew at the time that we were upgrading our military hardware, towards this purpose, they cannot have seen anything. And then again, the whole attitude of government, there was a time when government, perhaps under pressure, finally, look at the Southeast, for instance. The IPOB has been proscribed. Yet, they carry on pretty much as if nothing like that was said. They still have the name, the flag is there. They will display the flag. They still are speaking. They still are commenting. All of this, how is all of this happening? Because if an organization has been proscribed, for example, anywhere, not just in Nigeria, then that organization cannot be seen to be publicly active. That's not the situation that we have here. Is it that we can't back up what we say?
No, that's the point I was making earlier. To every security crisis, you must study the situation and then look for the best strategy to deal with it. And like I said, when you decide to prescribe IPOB, when you decide to apply maximum military force, what you simply did was to drive that organization underground to a place where you could no longer effectively manage them, to a place where you could not effectively bring them under control. This is what happened. And then you now the groups now splintered into small units that are operating all over the place. And because they are splintered into small units of people that can freely move around, they can go anywhere they want to go to, today this is where we stand. And I keep repeating that even that's a problem in the Southeast. The medicine that we apply is the wrong medicine. We need to go back to consultation. We need to go back to meeting with the people and talking with them, because really, even if you go to a war, after a war, there's always negotiation. We always come to the table to say, let us talk how to resolve this issue. So what is required to solve the problem in the Southeast is to talk. The people have grievances. They have genuine grievances. They can tell you what their grievances are. Grievances are not dealt with the jackboot of the military. Grievances are dealt with when you talk together, when you dialogue. It might take a while for you to dialogue and finish, but you will win the people to yourself. Gradually, you win this person here, you win that one there, until you create an environment where insecurity can no longer fester. As it is now, the Southeast is very conducive for the level of insecurity to fester. The environment is right. The people are ready, they are not ready to lift a hand to support government. They feel that they have been marginalized and all that. But this is why I said it's not military action, because in any case, has military action helped? Has the use of force helped? Has the use of jackboot, has it helped? So we need to then rethink. And the fact that we have a new government coming provides us, the entire country, a wonderful opportunity to rethink the various strategies we have adopted and then approach our problems. And hopefully, we should be able to find the solution, because Nigerians are tired, and the coming of a new president provides an enormous hope for people. People are looking to see that something will be done differently, from the way we have run our country for the past 8 years. Yeah. Okay,
Doctor, let me bring in, in fact, our final caller today is like our first and final, our final caller today, Mr. George in Lagos. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Uncle Yori. Good morning to your guest.
Yes.
Uncle Yori, appointing people to do jobs is different from the job being done itself, because it is not enough to get the materials. How are the materials going to be deployed? What are the tactics and what is the drive behind it? That is why you need people who are capable of doing certain duties before you are assigning to them. That's the summary of why you are what you are discussing, that Tucano jets are being bought and the effects are not being felt at the general public level. It takes me back to what is going on now, Uncle Yori, about appointments. We noticed that people, MDAs and heads of organizations, political appointments are being done everywhere in government circles in a few days to the end of an administration. And a new government is taking over. Why don't you wait for the new government to take over and appoint the kind of caliber of people he wants? For me, Uncle Yori, these are booby traps being set by the cabal in the presidency. We know that The Buhari we know cannot be behind all these things. They are just using his signature to commit all sort of things. And I think he should stop.
All right.
Why should you be appointing people, saying 3 days, 4 days to a change of government when you know a new administration is coming over? How do you know the kind of caliber of people that the new administration wants to appoint there? The people that didn't want Asiwaju to come to that office are the ones laying booby traps for him. And I want to suggest that once he takes over, all those appointments should be nullified.
All right.
Good morning.
All right, Mr. George. Good morning, Mr. George. Quite angry, Mr. George. Good morning. Dr. Okoro, do you care for any comments on that point that was made? Here, just days to, a new administration, major appointments are being made, in some of those MDAs. Is that an issue that could, that has an effect or has a place in the conversation we're having right now?
No. See, the current president and his government have a right to do what they want to do until the end of government, of their tenure. But the person who is coming next also have a right to do what he feels is right. So if you come in and you feel that the people that have just been appointed will not do your bidding, that they have another agenda, you take them out. Nobody's going to ask you why do you have to remove them. So it is for them to make the appointment. It's for the incoming president to say, I don't want this set of guys. I want to bring in our people that will deliver on my vision. I haven't quickly said that I didn't talk about border security, which is very important. It's an area that the incoming president need to look at, because that border is where all the arms are coming from, is where all the criminal people are coming from. So the border security is going to have to be a critical area that they need to look at very closely. Not buy more weapons, not buy more equipment, not put in more money, but to study closely what it is and then determine what is the way forward. And finally, appointments. Appointment in the security sector is going to be made because so many vacancies will occur in the police. I think the IG is due for retirement, and others are also due to go.
Dr. Okoro, I'm so sorry.
Yes,
we're going to have to...
Yeah, we should look for the best hands. Yeah, we should look for the best hands to man these positions.
Thank you very much, Dr. David Okoro, Chief Security Strategist, Institute for Security and Governance Studies. Really appreciate your making time for us this morning. Thank you very much. And so that's our program. Please join us on Monday, which is actually going to be a special broadcast day because everybody knows what Monday is. So it's going to be special programming on Monday. Join us then for minute-to-minute coverage of the inauguration of the incoming President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I'm Yori Folani. Do have a great weekend.